Okay, so here's sky art number 2. We're going to go through a few more advanced kind of things. This is a photo I took off my cell phone again. Amazing what you can do with them. In an abandoned factory. Really thought the shadows from the beams looked really cool, and it's just always like a grungy effect. You know, it's all about subject sometimes. So I thought to myself, what would look cool in the sky? So I downloaded a copyright-free concrete image and a copyright-free graffiti image that kind of hopefully makes us all smile. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make some quick adjustments just to pop the image a little bit more. Remember, I really like working with making a duplicate, so I can go down here to the plus icon, duplicate the layer, or you can hit Command or Control J, and that will also do a quick, that's the quick key to duplicate it. I forgot to mention that in sky art number 1 is Command or Control plus J will copy your layer for you. In the first sky art tutorial, I showed that you could go up here under Image and make adjustments here, and it makes adjustments directly onto the layer, which is destructive editing. So what Photoshop has done is it's made adjustment layers. So down here into this icon here is an adjustment layer icon, and it has all the same adjustments here in this icon as it does up here in the image adjustment area. The difference is when I go down here into the adjustment layer, I can pick, say, levels, and you see it pops the levels into its own layer, so it's not actually destroying the image layer. It's got a layer on top of that. So this is non-destructive editing. So anyways, let's make some quick adjustments here. Boom, boom, boom. And that pops the image there. And you can see I can turn the eyeball off and turn the eyeball on, and it's all within the levels layer, right? So it's not attached to the image layer. Again, non-destructive editing. So let's go make some hue saturation changes. So let's say if I'm adjusting the hue and I really like this color of the sky that I've done with the hue, but I don't like the color that's gone on in here. So here's a more advanced thing that you can do. So you make that hue adjustment the way you like it in the clouds, and then, but you don't like it on the brick. So you can remove it from the brick. And here's how you can remove it from the brick. This here, that's highlighted here, it's called a mask. So an advanced non-destructive way of dealing with this is you can go here to the brush tool. Make sure your foreground's on black. Remember here, this is where you adjust your size, or the bracket keys beside the P is the fast way of doing it. So I'm going to bracket that up. I'm going to increase the opacity of that brush, and then look at that. It starts erasing and removing the unwanted areas of the adjustment. And over here, as I'm doing that, you can see it's blackening that stuff out or masking it out. So if I've done this, and I can make some quick adjustments to my brush size and just go boom, 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 I now have the hue adjusted in the clouds the way I like, and I've removed it from the area that I don't want it. But I went a little bit too far. You can see here's the hue adjustments in these clouds, and the hue adjustment I erased in these clouds. The nice thing about masking is you can reverse the masking. So if I go over here and hit the bent arrow and reverse the black to the white, pick the brush, you see now that it undoes that. It puts the mask, it removes the mask from that area. And you can see over here, it's removed that over here. So it's removed the corresponding black over here. I need to make the brush smaller in order to be more effective with this adjustment. So there you go. I've now done that, but it's spilled out into the rock pile here. So back to the black area, and then I'm going to erase that. And you can see if you're paying attention, it just did a little dip here and put black back on there. So boom. And adjust the size of that brush. If I zoom in, sometimes zooming in makes it a lot easier. So go back to your brush, make that a little bit smaller, and then you can get pinpoint accuracy in erasing the unwanted areas of your adjustment. Here's the zoom, Here's the minus up here. This is the long way to do it. And then click, click, click. The Alt key, if you hold the Alt key down or press the Alt, see how it flickers back and forth? Alt goes to the minus. If you hit Command or Control 0, that's the fast way to bring it back into the full window for you. So a popular thing is to make part of the image black and white and part of it color. So I'm going to go down here into the black and white adjustment layer. Boom, there's the black and white. You can see it throws in the layer here. You can go and adjust the different colors of the black and white all the way you want. You can tint it if you really want to. I like it just black and white right now. The same thing we did in the hue saturation applies to the black and white. So make sure you're highlighting the black and white mask. Your foreground's on black. Go to the brush tool. We'll make that a little bit bigger. So bracket that up. And then you can start erasing and figuring out what part you want color, what part you want black and white. If you hit the X key, so you don't always have to go over here and toggle. So the X key is the fast way to switch between your background and your foreground color. So X that onto the white. You know, you can be very artistic with it and just have a few splashes of color. I'm just going to work away here and fast forward through this and just make something kind of cool. Okay, there you go. So I've done some quick kind of making some areas desaturated or black and white and painting and using the adjustment layer, the mask, to actually kind of paint the image in some way. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the concrete texture, pull that off, undock that, go to the move tool, drag that over, and same thing with the graffiti, move that over, and I have those images in here. So I'm going to hide the graffiti person for now. I'm going to make a copy of this layer here, and under edit I'm going to go free transform and rotate that, scale that up. Under the transform areas for this, skew, distort, and perspective are going to be really important tools to use. So let's try skewing this image, and you can see you can kind of skew that into place. Move this down, move that up there. Okay, I'm going to hit enter. I find it really difficult sometimes to be working in the bounding box window frame. So you can actually toggle between screen modes. So you can toggle between screen modes here. If you click and hold, you can go to full screen. And if you hit the, you can use the hand tool to move the image around. So I honestly, rather than standard screen mode, I find it much easier to work in full screen mode, even with the menu bar, and then you can go to the hand tool, move this around. To access the hand tool, you can be on any other tool. If you hit the space bar is the quick key to access the hand tool. So I find that way more efficient way of working than in the standard screen mode. Now if I go up into edit, into my transform areas and go to say skew, this is gonna be much easier for me to kind of like skew something into place here, right? Hit enter, Command T that, let's stretch this off. So now I have the concrete texture skewed into place here. I can just go and pick a blending mode. Let's go to darker color, that's a bit more dramatic. And we can adjust the opacity of that a little bit. And then remember, if we wanted to, we could go to the erase tool here and start erasing things. But down here, there's this little icon here called a mask. So you can add a layer mask. And this does the same technique as what's happened here in the layer adjustments. Make sure you're highlighting the mask at the bounding boxes around here. You don't want to have the box around the layer. You want it selected. You want the bounding box around the layer mask, not on the layer. You want it right here. Make sure that that's highlighted. And then foreground on black, brush tool, play around with the opacity, and then you can start kind of like fading things out and kind of like erasing things if you want to. So that's, you got some texture on there, and let's make a duplicate of this layer here. We can put a smiley face up into the sky. So I'm gonna go Command T or Control T. If you hold the Control key down and grab the corner of this, or the Command key on the Mac, you grab that, you can actually skew right into Free Transform. That's the quick way to do that. And then hit Enter when you're done. So the way that I skewed this into place, you can go under, you could go have the image selected, you could go basically edit, transform, skew, distort. You can play around with these. But I was in the Free Transform tool, and on the corner here, I held down the Command or the Control key to drag that around and skew that into place. And I can play around with the blending modes. And I can just adjust the opacity a little bit. And then I could throw a layer mask on there. If layer mask is too confusing, just continue to use the erase tool, but throw the mask on there. That's on black. Go to my brush tool, adjust the opacity, and then I can fade and feather basically as needed. So there you go. That's my second sky art tutorial for you. We went through basically adjustment layers. Why you want to use those is this doesn't destroy the image layer here. It's non-destructive editing, and it puts a mask on those to allow you to mask areas away. And now you know that you can, instead of using the erase tool on these images, you can then go and throw a mask on here. If you don't like the mask, you can right click. You can disable the layer mask to see what it looked like before, or right click on the layer mask, you can enable it. If you're happy with it, you can right click and you can apply the layer mask, and then it applies it to the layer. I'm going to get rid of unwanted layers. I'm going to erase that one and erase this one. So say if I'm happy with all these adjustments I've made, and here's my background layer here, I'm going to select, shift select all these layers. I'm going to right click, and then I can say merge layers together. So you're not getting like 100 layers. You can start merging them together in different things. So if I shift select all these layers, again, right click, go down to the merge layers, they're all merged. The other thing too is if you're completely happy with your image, you can go right click and you can say flatten image, and then it takes everything and flattens it down into one image. So, but you can't edit the layers anymore if that's done, but it makes the file size smaller. Again, if you're handing it in to me, all I require is a JPEG or a PNG. I don't need the Photoshop file. So make sure you go File, Save As. For submission purposes, you want to select JPEG or PNG. I don't want the Photoshop files handed in, they're too big. Okay, so do that.